It's 1 a.m., miles from civilization. The stars are incredible, but the temperature just plummeted. You're done with the trail for the day. Your engine is off, the fire is just embers now, and that deep biting cold is seeping into everything. You just want a cozy sleep. This is the problem that makes cold weather camping miserable. But what if the solution was just as simple as plugging something in? Today we're looking at a game changer, the BougeRV 12v portable heated blanket. In this review, I'm showing you why this one piece of gear might extend your entire camping season. Stick around, we'll dive into how and why this simple heated blanket came to be full-time equipment in my vehicle. Now before we talk about this specific blanket, we need to talk about the facts of staying warm in cold weather. Right now, the overlanding world is completely obsessed with diesel heaters. And diesel heaters are fantastic, but they're like using a flamethrower to kill a mosquito. Tents are drafty, they have zero insulation. You're wasting massive amounts of fuel heating air that escapes the tent as quickly as you put it in. The secret to staying warm is the fundamentals of camping. A good quality sleeping bag and a good insulating pad. You heat the body, not the tent. That's why an electric blanket is the way to go to make cold camping more comfortable. It puts the heat exactly where it's needed. It's the modern version of a hot water bottle slipped into the foot of the bed. Now I know what a lot of the internet experts are saying. They say that heating elements really drain electricity. But we aren't running a microwave or hot cooking element here. We specifically don't want something that will sear meat here. This is a low direct heat. In my testing, it uses around 55 watts. That's less than an incandescent bulb. This is a key difference, and it's a secret that truckers have known for ages. A heating blanket never truly fails. Just like an escalator that breaks down just becomes stairs, if the power is turned off, it's a blanket, another layer of insulation around you. Which is an important consideration because blanket or heater, you shouldn't depend on it to keep you from freezing. These should only be add-ons to a functional sleeping bag and pad. Now, I was already planning on making a video about 12-volt electric blankets when BougeRV contacted me about reviewing their diesel heater or their blanket. So I was really happy and jumped at the chance. I looked right past that fancy heater and wanted to check out that blanket. Before going on, the usual disclaimer, BougeRV did not pay for this review, but they did provide a product to be reviewed. That means I was able to negotiate an affiliate link and discount if you decide to purchase one for yourself using the link below. So let's take a look at it. What you get is the blanket. I like that it's shipped in a reusable vacuum bag for storage, a good sized stuff sack to hold it, and the cables to connect it to a typical cigarette lighter port. Pretty straightforward. One thing I love is the integrated cord pocket. No more tracking down or possibly losing the cord. The controls are pretty simple, just two buttons, the heat level and the auto off timer. The indicator lights are a bit odd though. I wish for a simple 5-bar color gradient. I know it cost a few cents more per unit, but it would have been more aesthetically pleasing. And this thing draws surprisingly little power. Charging my drone batteries, it pulls more wattage than this blanket does on high. Conditions will vary, but running 10 hours on the middle heat setting, I had 39% of my battery left. Running on high, I had 13% left. And at 6'3", this blanket covers me from shoulder to toes. There's nothing worse than pulling a blanket up to your shoulders and suddenly have the tips of your toes get cold. I also found that I really like having these tabs to be able to wrap the blanket around me. If it's plugged in and heating, you're not going to be very mobile, but it still helps when you're sitting in a camp chair or standing in one place cooking or standing taking pictures. Now for the compromises, it's not machine washable, which is common with electric blankets. I was hoping because the cables disconnect, you'd be able to throw this in a clothes washer, but I think the faux suede is really the problem that makes it so that you can't machine wash this. And you can't use it as a heating pad underneath you. Folding or crumpling concentrates heat and it might damage the heating wires. Now the suede-like material they have is durable and it handles heat transfer really well. I initially didn't think I would like that against me compared to something like a cozy flannel, but this actually keeps it from sliding around when it's on top of your sleeping bag. And if you've ever had a nylon blanket on top of a nylon sleeping bag, you know how slippery those things can be. You'll wake up multiple times in the night with the blanket having completely slipped off you, but this really stays in place, which I think is actually a really good thing. It's a trade-off for the feeling of suede versus flannel, but I think it was a good idea.
There's also another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and it is a big pet peeve, but there's an app to connect to this blanket. Now in this case, the little control that goes with it does work on its own. You don't need the app to use this blanket. There's only a few features that only work through the app though.
Editor break. For completeness, I use the app. It's a good app, but I'd still never use it for a blanket. When you set the auto shutoff time, it remembers the setting even after you disconnect.
I really wish they had that 10-hour button on here. That's really all you need. The cost for this heating blanket also seems a little high at first. It is a higher quality product than a lot of the cheap ones I've seen. And I've also compared it to other ones that have the similar build to this that are a little bit more rugged for camping, and it's actually cheaper than those. So it's higher than I would like, but it seems to be actually kind of competitive for what it's being compared to.
I always advise to have a blanket in your car for convenience or, God forbid, an emergency. So why not add the option to heat up that blanket while the car is generating power? And having a 12-volt blanket has been so great that it actually lives in my car 24/7 now. It's not just something I take with me camping. When I go do astrophotography, I'm sitting in the car for 3 hours waiting for the camera to take pictures, and I can just wrap up in a heating blanket and watch movies until the camera is done doing its job. I don't have to keep turning the truck on and off to run the heater every few minutes. Or back when I was in college, I used to nap in my car between classes. In the winter, that would get cold even with my regular car blanket. I would have loved a heating option back then. Obviously, the fact that it requires power means it isn't geared towards being a backpacking product, but it's great when a vehicle is involved. Car camping, overlanding, RVs to cut down on propane use, staying in an unheated cabin or yurt with a power box. It comes in handy in so many situations. And because it's just a blanket, it's great as a more portable product than something like a diesel tent heater. You're not just heating the air inside the tent. You can take it out with you when you're sitting around a campfire, or when you're huddled in front of a stove making coffee or cooking breakfast. During the day, you're active, moving, staying warm, doing things, but the times you're settled in at camp are usually the coldest times of day. After the sun goes down, or in the morning when the sun hasn't had time to heat you back up, and sitting in your camp chair at those times, a heated blanket wrapped around you will improve your trip immensely.
So after putting this 12-volt blanket through its paces, making cold coffee in the morning, or late at night waiting on star trails, what's the final verdict?
This blanket isn't about replacing every gear you own. It's about taking the fundamentals of what we already use, your sleeping bag, your pad, and turning a tolerable cold night into a genuinely cozy one. It's the difference between surviving a winter trip and actually enjoying the downtime at camp.
For the overlander or car camper that values efficiency and direct warmth, this is a great product. Simple in its usage, but having a big impact on your trip despite that simplicity. Is it perfect? No. A blanket that hooks up to your phone is a little bit of an odd thing, but it works perfectly well if you never hook it up to an app. It's still a good product in spite of that. And it's absolutely a great addition to your vehicle kit for comfort and convenience. This blanket isn't about replacing all the gear you own. You still need a great sleeping bag and a good insulating pad. This is about taking the fundamentals that we already use and turning a tolerable night into a genuinely cozy night.
If you decide to upgrade your camp comfort, you can find a link to the BougeRV blanket right down in the description. And if you want to see how I use it in gear like this while exploring the backcountry and the desert, make sure you subscribe before you go. Thanks for watching, and stay warm out there this winter.
Hey, do you think you could knock down my tripod? Yeah, come this way. My column's all fucked up.